What's the most important part of sourcing from China? Most people think it's finding the right supplier, so they spend all their time on it. But that's not where the real risk is. The real risk is everything that comes after. You might understand the process, but do you know where you are most likely to lose control? Hi, I'm Chris from Egypt. We are based in Yiwu, helping overseas buyers manage sourcing from China. In this video, I'm not just walking you through the steps. I'll show you where things usually go wrong in a real sourcing process. Before you contact any supplier, ask yourself one question. Is your product actually well defined? Not just a photo, not just a link, not just something like this. A real product definition includes materials, size, colors, structure, packaging, and certifications. If your specifications are not clear, the supplier will quote based on their understanding, not yours. And when you receive the goods, they might not be wrong, but they won't be what you expected. So you need to create a clear product brief. This brief for your benchmark throughout the entire process. It's really about creating a product standard that can be verified. Step 2 is not placing the order, it's verifying the supplier. A lot of people rely on platform badges and labels, but the truth is that doesn't guarantee they are a real manufacturer. And here's the key point. Never send money without verification, because once you pay, you lose most of your leverage. So you need to confirm the basics. Is the company real? Is the location consistent with the factory? Do they actually have production capability? If a supplier refuses to provide basic information, that's already your answer. Step 3 is sampling, and this is not optional. Skipping samples means using your full order as a test. But more importantly, sampling is not about taking a look, it's about verification. You should compare the sample against your product benchmark, detail by detail. What you see online, images, descriptions, pricing, never guarantees the actual production result. Also, a quick reality check. Free samples are usually not customized, they're just existing products. And if it takes 3 to 4 rounds of sampling and still not right, it's usually not a detail issue, it's a capability issue. Now comes negotiation. Most people think this is about getting a lower price, but in reality, it's about controlling risk. The first thing you should be clear about is the payment structure. In most cases, it's 30% deposit plus 70% before shipping, which means you pay everything before the goods leave China, so if anything goes wrong, you don't have much leverage left. That's why all the previous steps matter. Then comes MOQ. A lot of factories give a standard MOQ, but it's often based on their efficiency, not hard limits. In some cases, you can negotiate it down, especially if you show long-term potential. Only after that you talk about price. And here's the key point. Price is the easiest thing to adjust, but also the easiest to hide problems in. If you push too hard, factories will compensate somewhere else, materials, components, or finishings. So a lower price doesn't always mean lower cost in the end. And finally, Incoterms. Who handles shipping and risk? If you're experienced, FOB gives you more control. If you're new, letting the supplier or agent handle it, like CIF or DDP, might actually reduce risk. So negotiation is not just about getting a better deal, it's about making sure the deal is actually safe and workable. A lot of people think once the order is placed, they can just wait for shipment. But in reality, this is where things start going out of control, because you don't see what's happening. Factories may delay production, change materials, simplify processes to save time. And you usually find out at the end. So at this stage, you need to control 3 things. First, pre-production confirmation. Make sure mass production matches the sample. Second, during production inspection, because if you wait until everything is finished, it's too late. Third, pre-shipment inspection. This is your final checkpoint, not to find faults, but to control risk. And one very real point, even big factories make mistakes if no one is checking. Also, in real sourcing, many buyers don't handle this themselves. They usually rely on third parties for inspections, audits, and more. The last step is shipping and customs. This directly affects your margin and your delivery reliability. You are basically balancing 3 things: time, cost, and volume. If your priority is cost and volume is large, sea freight is a default, but it takes time. If you are in a rush, air freight is faster, but much more expensive. For Europe, rail can be a middle option. Another practical point, if your volume is close to a full container, always compare full container load. It's often cheaper and more stable than less than container load. And then customs, many delays don't happen in transit, they happen at customs. So for better risk control, it is recommended to find experienced freight forwarders or agents to handle your customs. So shipping is not just about moving goods, it's about balancing cost, time, and risk. Overall, the process itself is not complicated, but most problems don't come from one single step. They happen when you lose control between the steps. In sourcing, you can move faster, but you can't skip steps. Every shortcut comes back later as a bigger problem. So if you're sourcing from China and feel like things are getting harder to control, feel free to reach out. We help you turn the entire process into something structured and manageable.